India and Egypt have a very strong relationship. We have seen high-level engagements as well. Recently, the Egyptian foreign minister was here in Delhi to talk about this very growing relationship. With me is His Excellency, the Egyptian ambassador. So welcome to WION. It's great to have you here in our offices. And my first question to you is about the relationship. How do you see this relationship growing? What are the key pillars of this relationship? And what is the sense in terms of this relationship you can give to our viewers?
First of all, thank you very much, Sidhant, for having me over with your program. It's a very renowned program, and it's a great honor to be with you. And before indulging into answering your question, allow me, first of all, to express my deepest condolences to all the Indian families who lost the victims in the blast that happened the day before yesterday. Our heartfelt condolences to them and our best wishes for all the injured people for a speedy recovery from this repercussions of this blast. So this is, before we start, I had to say that. Regarding our relations, we need to put it into context. We have a strategic partnership that has been signed ever since June 2023 during the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Cairo in June 2023. However, we should put it in a context. How it did not come out of the blues. These are two great ancient civilizations. So we have the foundations of solid foundations for our strategic partnership. It has always been there. Our relation started over 4,700 years ago, and it went on. And there has always been a sense of duality in our relationship ever since in the 20th century, during the era of Mahatma Gandhi and Saad Zaghloul Pasha in Egypt, where we both fought for our independence together, shoulder to shoulder, and then again we were shoulder to shoulder after that during the era of Gamal Abdel Nasser and the Prime Minister of India at that time, Nehru. So Egypt and India has always been shoulder to shoulder, and now with the new contemporary challenges that is happening worldwide, we have two new duality between our two nations. We have two visionaries who by coincidence also came in the same year. They were elected to office in the same year. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in Egypt and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Both of them came to their countries, were elected in 2014 with a great ambitions for their nations, as well as they were facing huge challenges. And they came during an era where the world, geopolitics of the world is facing tremendous challenges, tremendous strain. However, Egypt and India has always had this vision of preserving multilateralism, mutual respects and coexistence, partnership and collaboration. These are the foundations for our strategic partnership, which we have to carry on and start to implement. Now, in 2025 was a magnificent year for our partnership. It was we had the visit of the Minister of Trade in Trade and Industry in March, and in October we had the first round of the strategic partnership, which sets the tone for the future of our collaboration and to implement and to start bearing the fruits of the strategic partnership. We had the first round of the strategic dialogue in October. And there are major ideas, very crucial ideas that would really take our relations a huge leap forward. We are offering India the specific zone in the Suez Canal Zone, free zone area, where we are opening the world to Indian investments, and opening the world market to Indian investments. We are also on the verge of signing an agreement on establishing a joint chamber of commerce, which also is another leap in the framework of our bilateral relations.
So let's dissect the relationship into various sectors. Almost all the sectors are buzzing. Let me start with the defense relationship. We saw the visit of the Indian defense minister to your country. So what's the sense like in terms of the growth in the defense relationship? Are you looking at procurement from India? Are you looking at joint ventures?
Listen, the defense field is very crucial. It is one of the major elements of our bilateral relationship. However, it depends on how you tackle it. It's not a matter of procurement. In defense issues, there are so many components, so many verticals that we need to look into. There's the training and the joint training vertical, which is going magnificent, and we are working for even broadening it and widening it. There is the joint production vertical, which is another component which is very crucial, and there is a lot of potential here. And also there is the joint maritime cooperation. This is another very important aspect because, as you see, there's a lot of challenges, maritime challenges, that is affecting not only in defense field, but it's also affecting economic fields jointly. So these are so low-hanging fruit verticals that we can cooperate on.
Trade, as you have already pointed out, is an important component. You talked about the special economic zone as well. So how do you see the trade trajectory in the relationship? And as part of the trade trajectory, we know that connectivity is another element. There is focus on the India, Middle East, Europe corridor as well. If you can give what's the view like in Cairo about increasing trade between India and Egypt?
So there are two aspects to your question. One is the trade aspect, which the bilateral trade aspect, and then there's another aspect, which is the connectivity aspect. I will answer you to both. So first on trade, in India you have a around $4 trillion economy. In Egypt we are a $400 billion economy. So these two great, magnificent economies, the potential for bilateral trade is much more than the current level, which we are thrilled to have achieved $5 billion in bilateral trade. However, by these two aspects and this magnitude of these two economies, $5 billion is not enough. And our two ministers agreed in March, and even again the foreign ministers agreed that this should be the target in October, to increase this trade to $12 billion in the coming 2 years. Still, even the $12 billion, in my opinion, does not really match the magnitude and the size of the two economies. However, let's take it one step at a time, and this is a very good objective that we can strive to achieve. On the connectivity, well, connectivity is a very important aspect in today's geopolitics. The IMEC corridor that you just mentioned is an important initiative. However, Egypt is not yet part of this initiative, though we are eager. We see it as a positive initiative. But we tend to prefer to look at it instead of looking at a corridor, because a corridor is a corridor. We prefer to look at it from another perspective, which is a network. Because today's or tomorrow's trade and it's all about networks. You cannot confine yourself to just a corridor. It's much more. The opportunities is much more. So there is the IMEC, which is a project that is still has not been materialized yet because of the very geopolitical turmoil in the Middle East. So it is better to look at it from a network perspective, so that it incorporates other interlocutors that can open up the world for this corridor and for increasing the trade. Of course, Africa is a very important component into this, and Egypt could be a hub to open the doors to Africa through the African free trade area. Egypt can also contribute to this corridor or this project, let me call it the project, by opening up the Greater Arab Free Trade Area, because we have an FTA within the Arab countries. We have a bilateral FTA with the European Union. We have a bilateral FTA with the UK. We have a bilateral FTA with Turkey. We have a bilateral FTA with the Mercosur countries. So in fact, Egypt will not only open its markets to 100 million Egyptians, which is also a vast number, but actually the actual number is around 2.5 billion consumers. So actually we're opening the world. The key into this is I'm sure Egypt can really contribute to this project.
So, both India and Egypt have been impacted by the issue of terrorism, the scourge of terrorism. How can both countries collaborate on counterterrorism?
The two countries are already collaborating on countering terrorism because we see eye to eye on this issue. And we have an extended experience in countering terrorism. We have, for instance, the Al-Azhar Observatory in Egypt, which has been established since so many years for counter-radicalization. You know, countering terrorism is not only by security means and by military means. It needs a whole holistic approach. It includes social, economic, as well as security components. So we had this experience. We saw a scourge. We faced terrorism in Sinai, in northern Sinai, during the 2014, 2015, 2016 times. And we have implemented this holistic approach. And today we see zero terrorism in Egypt. So it needs a holistic approach and a very prudent and wise manner, instead of just focusing on only military and security means.
Going to a little bit multilateral aspect, both Egypt and India are part of the BRICS grouping. You became a member of the BRICS grouping recently. How do you see collaboration in the grouping itself? How do you see the future of the grouping as well? And how do you see the BRICS platform being a platform where you can have more South-South collaboration?
Look, Sidhant, BRICS is a very important platform, and Egypt, ever since the inception of BRICS, though we are only a new member since January 2024, but Egypt has always had the feeling that it's a natural member of BRICS, and that is why even before our membership we have been collaborating with BRICS and we have been supporting BRICS, because BRICS is a platform that is is parallel to the non-aligned movement. It is a grouping of the South-South cooperation. And this is actually in our DNA, our joint DNA, by the way, in Egypt and India, because we were at the forefront, as well as other countries, on the forefront for establishment of the non-aligned movement. And this is the crux of the non-aligned movement, which is the developing countries' cooperation. So now, as a member of the BRICS now, we have the same agenda, almost identical agenda as India when it comes to collaboration, because it's all about collaboration. It's an important platform for South-South cooperation, and we need to even widen it, we need to deepen it, because there's a difference between that widening and deepening the cooperation. So we see it as a very important developmental tool for cooperation between southern countries.
And can Egypt help in India's energy security, in facilitating in India's energy security? I'm asking this question because India gets a lot of its energy from West Asian region. While you're part of Africa, you have, of course, a greater engagement, especially politically, when it comes to the West Asian region.
Yeah, certainly Egypt can play an important component in this, especially when we are speaking about the new generation of energy, which is the green ammonia and green hydrogen. This is the new wave of energy that is coming. So Egypt can play part, whether we're speaking about from investment part or from even facing the demand in the energy market here in India.
Agriculture is another sector of cooperation. In fact, I remember that after the conflict that started in Ukraine, you gave a go-ahead to allow import of Indian wheat as well. So what are the potentials in this specific sector in terms of India helping you in your food security?
Well, this is a very important question, and I thank you for asking this question, because I think the agriculture and food security, I would say the potential here, I would be very conservative if I tell you that the sky is the limit. It's even much more than that, because we have the millet. We have a great interest in the millet that you have here in India, and we are seeking collaboration in that field. I think you have a great interest in the citrus and the pomegranate and the grapes from Egypt. You have important technologies for the soil that is facing drought, and we have a water issue in Egypt. So I think there is the potential in collaboration in this field is huge. Also in digitalization of agriculture sector, you have a good industry in this field. You have in the irrigation in the sector. So the list can go on for a couple of hours, especially in the agriculture field.
So we had conversation on the trade aspect. Trade and investment almost go hand in hand. What are the measures that the Egyptian government is taking to get more Indian investment? In fact, to simplify my question, I would like to ask, why should an Indian investor invest in Egypt?
Two parts to your question. The first part is the incentives. We have offered India a specific zone in the Suez Canal Zone. And this is a major incentive, because we're going to give you for India a specific area where you can bring your own investments in various fields: textile, pharmaceuticals, artificial intelligence, green hydrogen, pharmaceuticals, any field. So a textile, garment, whatever. So this is a major incentive, because in this area we are going to open the world again to you. We are opening the whole world, and the incentive is simply zero everything. We are going to zero everything for Indian investments. So this is a major thing in our bilateral relation that can give a huge leap and profitability to Indian investors. Great profitability to Indian investors, and as well as it would provide us with FDIs in Egypt.
Your region has been ravaged by the conflict, the war in Gaza. Egypt has played a very important role. You hosted the Sharm el-Sheikh summit. You invited India as well. What kind of conversation both sides are holding? How do you see India helping in resolving perhaps the Gaza conflict, even though you, of course, play an important role? It's just your neighborhood. So what's the sense like? What's the view like?
I will tell you two things. First, when it comes to India, India is an important international player, and they're an important player in South Asia. So you're a major power in South Asia, of course. So this is where you come in, because you have certain industries and certain assistance that you can provide to the Palestinian people, as we are preparing for hosting a ministerial conference for the rehabilitation and reconstruction of Gaza. We will be certainly looking forward for Indian participation in this conference, where you can provide the assistance for the rehabilitation and reconstruction of Gaza after what it endured during the past couple of years. Referring to our role in this conflict, our role has always been. It did not start from the 7th of October. It started so many years ago, ever since the start of the conflict in general. We have always been taking a very prudent and a very wise position on this, very principled. In Egypt, we go by principles. There is a certain DNA for our foreign policy that has been there. By the way, it's not contemporary. It has been there for the past 7,000 years. So we have been in this part of the world for a very long time. So we saw a lot of changes happening in this part of the world, and this is where our wisdom comes. The parameters of our foreign policy, and specifically when it comes to the geopolitical regional geopolitics, it is based on certain benchmarks. First, it is principles, because principles is simply principles. You cannot change the principles. You cannot be transactional on principles, because this is who you are. This is what you represent. And that is why we are considered as a trusted partner by all the even different factions and the different parties in this region. The second component is peace, because having been there for the past 7,000 years, we came to understand that war does not change anything. The only way for change is to bring peace, to achieve peace, to bring stability to people. The third principle is prudence. We should be prudent in how we look at and how we tackle the challenges. And certainly the fourth principle is partnership. So having said that, these four principles govern our foreign policy towards international political situation and even regional political situations. We have been approaching this issue from that perspective. We want to achieve peace and we want to achieve stability for all people in the region. Certainly, people, because what we saw during the past 2 years, people taking countries and people taking camps. Let's not take camps. Let's take the camp of principles. And taking the camp of principles dictates on us, on our conscience, that we need to work towards peace and towards calming the situation, stopping the killing of the people in Gaza. There was a war machine and there was a killing machine happening in Gaza. I'm glad that the Trump administration, President Trump administration, stepped in so strongly to help the efforts exerted by Egypt and by our brothers in Qatar, in order to bring calmity into this. So the role of the United States is very crucial in guaranteeing the implementation of the agreement achieved in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Mm-hmm. And are you looking at education cooperation as well? You have the biggest Islamic university. India is making sure that its universities, its educational institutions are established, including in Africa as well. So any kind of cooperation you foresee?
So I would put this under the vertical of cultural cooperation. I think, and in my view, cultural cooperation is one of the major components for our bilateral relationship, because this is what brings people to understand each other and to respect each other. Mm-hmm. Especially that we are both have this all civilizational principles of coexistence. Mm-hmm. You mentioned we have the biggest Islamic university. It is true. But not only the Islamic university, we have other very, very big universities, even internationally recognized universities. We have the Cairo University, we have the Ain Shams University, Alexandria University, and the list goes on. We have a very big list of universities. So cultural cooperation, educational cooperation is very crucial, and we have programs in this respect. And actually, we have around 2,000 Indian students studying medicine in Egypt, medical school. So yes, this is a very important field of cooperation, and we are planning to even expand it much more.
Mm-hmm. So coming back to the investment bit, pharma sector, India is known for its pharma sector. How can perhaps India and Egypt work together in this specific sector that can benefit the wider West Asian region?
I think this is a very timely question, especially today, because the Minister of Health and Fertilizers is, as we speak, he's in Cairo, and he met yesterday with the Minister of Health, and he met also the day before yesterday with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we are having other meetings for him, and he has a delegation along with him from the business sector, whether we're speaking about pharmaceuticals or fertilizers. So there's a huge potential in this respect, especially, again, as I mentioned to you before, in the SCZONE. You can bring your industries, you can make manufacturers to produce in Egypt and export duty-free to the whole world. And actually, there are so many countries that is going now to this zone. We have various other Asian countries and as well as European countries who has a specific zone. So pharmaceuticals is a very low-hanging fruit, especially for countries for Africa, because we can open the door of Africa to Indian pharmaceuticals to export to Africa.
Mm-hmm. So Egypt does not need any PR, to use the word, because it's well known, given its tourism potential. You have the pyramids, which is a symbol. Everyone, when they see the picture of pyramids, they immediately recognize it's Egypt. But the Indian tourist market is growing fast. The Indian tourist is everywhere, from Latin America till Japan to other parts of the world. What do you plan to do in terms of getting more Indian tourists? You recently opened a mega museum as well. If you can perhaps talk about that museum, how this museum should be stopped for every Indian tourist now going to Egypt?
I'm glad that you asked me this question, and I thank you again for having participated in the event that we hosted in the embassy in this regard on the inauguration of the Grand Egyptian Museum. And you mentioned the pyramids. I would call the Grand Egyptian Museum as another pyramid, and it's going to stand there for so many years, so millennia later they will consider it another pyramid. And let me tell you what it really represents before indulging into tourism. It's simply a message to humanity. This is how important it is. And in Egypt, we say it's our gift to humanity. It's a message that in this contemporary world, which is becoming so more and more transactional, with all the challenges, and we are so focused on the economic challenges, security challenges, and so on and so forth. It's a message that there is hope. It's a message that there is of resilience. It's a message that we all should work for humanity. There is no difference. At the end of the day, it is our shared prosperity. There's a place for all of us in this world. So we don't need to get into these challenges. And this has been the message of Egypt for so long, for millennia. So this is what really would encourage the Indian tourists to go to see. The Indian tourists are, from looking at the numbers, Indians are very cultured people. So you prefer even to go to these culture and historic monuments. And so this message of humanity, this message of resilience, this message of hope would encourage Indians to go to visit the Grand Egyptian Museum, because it represents all of us. It does not belong to Egypt only. It belongs to you. It belongs to everybody. It belongs to humanity. So this is what really represents the importance of this museum. Referring to tourism, I think the potential for Indian tourists to go to Egypt is huge. We have helped in all the way. We have simplified all the procedures to encourage Indian tourists to go to Egypt. We have now direct lines from Delhi with Egypt Air from Delhi to Cairo. We have another one which has always been there from Mumbai to Cairo. Visa facilitation, we have put in place a program for e-visas for Indians. They can get an e-visa. For those who has the Schengen or Schengen visas, use Schengen visas and American visas, or they can go, they can get a visa upon arrival into Cairo. So we have facilitated all the procedures. What remains is to have this collaboration, and we are working to have more promotions to encourage Indian tourists to go to Egypt, especially wedding tourism. I was astonished to learn that very few Indian wedding happening in Egypt, and they're going to other places. And I think we have a lot of potential there, and I think that Indians would love to go to have a wedding by the pyramids. And by the way, it already happened. And throughout the past years, so many films have been shot in Egypt around the pyramids and in Luxor and so on and so forth. Come visit Egypt, come visit your country, join us in celebrating humanity.
Mm-hmm. I remember a famous Bollywood song as well, which was played at the ceremony as well, with the pyramids in the backdrop. But sir, moving forward to several other areas like AI, like climate change, like space, how do you see the cooperation, the collaboration going on? Because in terms of these specific sectors, both have opportunities, both have their own strengths as well. India is going to host the AI summit. India is a superpower in terms of space, where India can support you. And climate change has impacted India and Egypt equally.
All these sectors are very crucial. Let me start with the AI. AI. What does AI mean? We are now getting into a new age of artificial general intelligence, which is going to be there in very few years. And we are now in the artificial narrow intelligence. We are now in the era of AI, and still we need a lot of work to be done. Especially AI. Generally, AI needs what? It needs energy. It needs data centers. Because data centers, they will need a lot of green energy. And I think the greatest potential for data centers for Indian companies to be established in Egypt, because the potential of green energy in Egypt, renewable energy in Egypt, is huge. It's among the highest in the world. So this is another low-hanging fruit for our joint cooperation for the establishment of data centers. On space, we have already collaboration, and there is already an MOU that is being discussed right now between the two sides, in order to be signed as soon as possible. On environment and climate change, of course, you know that Egypt hosted the COP summit a few years ago, and we are collaborating on that. That is why we have in place now a whole architecture, and we have an action plan between Egypt and India for the coming years to enhance our cooperation in all these fields that we spoke about today. We're going to host next year, as agreed with during the first round of the strategic dialogue, we are going to hold the meeting of the joint committee between Egypt and India, which it will include. It's going to be held in first half of 26 in Cairo. It will include all the relevant ministries and officials, and also it will include a component of bilateral business council. We're looking forward for the Minister of Trade visit to Cairo in February. We are going to hold the political consultation. So we have an action plan ahead of us to implement all what we spoke about today.
Moving forward to multipolarity, to the global geopolitics, what's your sense like? We've already discussed the BRICS grouping, but what's your sense like global issues like the reforms of the United Nations, the issue of piracy, which impacts you and India equally in terms of the piracy we saw in the Red Sea area, in terms of regional groupings like the Arab League?
Listen, multipolarity is not. This is not the focus of our bilateral relation. What we focus on bilaterally is multilateralism. This is the important. We know that the multilateral system has its deficiencies, and we really need to work in order to reform it, whether we are speaking on the political institution or even the international financial institutions, to make it more accessible, make it more inclusive. This is the important thing. So we are working together on these things. We see eye to eye, and we are joining hands, and we are on the same path, on the same page in these issues.
So my last question to you is, as the Egyptian ambassador, if you can give us a sense, a view about the situation in your part of the world, because the conflict in Gaza has been the global headlines for years now, and that impacts everything, whether it is the humanitarian situation. The visuals from Gaza are truly heartbreaking, whether it is the connectivity project. So if you can give a sense about what's happening in this your region, and also what is Egypt doing to bring peace?
Thank you very much for this question. I think it's very pertinent, and I will tell you that you're asking the way that you're asking the question as if the whole thing started on the 7th of October, because you're mentioning the situation in Gaza because of the Gaza war. Well, the situation did not start on the 7th of October. The situation started so many years ago, and the problem is that we need, in this part of the world, a statesman who has the vision and who has the courage to take bold decisions towards peace. Experience, and as I told you earlier, experience tell us that war war and killing people never achieved any result. Never. I cannot. Nobody can give me one example that this achieved any result ever in history. The only path to that is peace. Egypt explored this path, and we achieved what we wanted. Even we one day we had war with Israel, and now we have diplomatic relations. So after the war, after getting what we wanted in 1973, we had a vision, and we call him the visionary of war and peace, President Sadat. He wanted to make peace because we got what we wanted at that time. So he said, war cannot continue. There is a part of our land that needs to be, we need to get back, and we got it by diplomacy and by peace. So we did what we had to do. Our society was resilient enough to be adamant on peace. So again, I think the whole world spoke during the General Assembly this year on the two-state solution. So the only path is peace. The only path is two-state.
Sir, my question to you was from the sense of Egypt's own experience as well, because you pointed out to President Sadat's peace formula. So can that peace formula be emulated? Can peace come to West Asia? Do you see the two-state solution being implemented?
Certainly it is possible. As long as there is political will, it is very closely achievable if we have prudent people, if we have wisdom, and if we have visionaries. And that takes a statesman and not a political leader.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.